Inflation in Britain has now climbed to its highest level in nearly a decade. The UK Consumer Price Index rose last month to 4.2%. That's twice the central bank's target of 2%, increasing the likelihood of an interest rate hike. Now, the biggest contributor was, of course, the surge in energy costs. Meantime, inflation, of course, at a 30-year high now in the United States. Americans are about to face a holiday season marked by surging prices. Professor Arin Dube is a professor of economics at the University of Massachusetts at Amherst. He joins us now live from Northampton. And good to see you, especially given the kind of research that you've been doing, obviously, over several years, but it's been very important throughout this pandemic. As you have made clear, we have seen an increase in the minimum wage, in wages in general at the bottom. On balance, you say this can raise living standards for the working poor. But now attention is turning to its inflationary effects. I mean, what do you predict and what do you think will happen?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I think it's really important to understand that the inflation increase is a global phenomenon to a large extent, as just today's news from UK shows us. At a basic level, inflation happens when there's demand for goods and services that outpaces supply, right? So the pandemic has certainly strained our ability to produce and distribute certain goods. Let's take semiconductors made in Malaysia or Vietnam, where there may be outbreaks. At the same time, consumers, flush with savings during the pandemic, have both bought more stuff and also put more emphasis on goods away from services. So this really has put a lot of pressure on the supply chains, clogging up ports, leading to global pricing pressure and inflation. So at the same time, labor force participation, how many people are working in America, still has not recovered to the pre-pandemic levels, leading to shortages in some sectors like trucking, means even more upward pressure on prices. Now, I think most forecasters expect these pressures to ease over time, especially the goods inflation. I would expect sometime by middle of next year to have eased substantially, though of course we can't be sure. At the same time, a key thing that's going to be important to keep an eye on are workers coming back into the workforce, allowing for services to expand down the road. So those are some of the sort of more complicated, but lots of different moving pieces here when it comes to understanding inflation. At the end of the day, I will say that those in the bottom half of the wage distribution pay scale are seeing very fast nominal wage increases that are actually outpacing even the higher inflation rates. At the same time, those in the top half are less likely to do so, which is a very unusual situation here in America. For many decades, wages have grown less at the bottom than the top, but that actually seems to be inverse at this point.
But in terms of actually, as you say, rising certainly the worker participation rate, but obviously increasing living standards for the working poor. And I know you've done work on this for years, including for the UK government. Does it worry you,
Right.
or do you think it is a good development here that wages at the bottom are, of course, increasing, and that at least those bottom wages are keeping pace with inflation, even if at the top end they're not?
So I think there are two things. One, inflation is not good. Inflation is bad. And we hope that inflation eases, and that would be a good thing for everyone. Two, I think it is a good thing that wages are actually rising at the bottom after decades of really insufficient growth. This is good for working families who, have really seen their living standards erode for decades now, for most part. And so that, I think, is a good thing. We want a tight labor market that actually leads to strong wage growth at the bottom and the middle. Right now, the inflation being high is keeping wages at the middle from really rising as much as one hopes.
We're really wading into quite a debate here that's been going on for decades. You and I have something in common. It's not the PhD in economics. It is the fact that we both earned minimum wage, but neither of us had to raise a family on it. Where do you come in now, after all of this research, in terms of all of these discussions, whether it's here in the United States about a $15 minimum wage, whether it's in Europe, whether it's in the UK? Is it a job killer to continue to raise wages at the bottom?
Look, I think, obviously at some point, if the minimum wage rises enough that, the harm is greater than the good. If it's too high, then jobs will be lost. My reading of the evidence, as well as I think, large body of economists doing work on this topic, tend to see that minimum wages to date in the US and the UK, for example, have produced higher wages, raised standard of living without costing any substantial number of jobs. In fact, based on ongoing evidence, the UK Low Pay Commission just last month decided to keep on raising their minimum wage towards 2/3 of the median wage, which is their target. I think that reflects the best evidence on this question. I think a minimum wage can be, when judiciously used, a powerful tool to help those at the bottom of the pay scale.
I don't have a lot of time here left, but I know that you can do this in about 30 to 45 seconds. People argue, put it in the tax code. Keep a certain wage level that's not a very high minimum wage, especially given regional disparities throughout Europe, throughout the United States. Have a progressive tax system instead.
I think taxes and minimum wages are complements. For example, the earned income tax credit works well together with the minimum wage. So to the extent the earned income tax credit can incentivize people to work more, a good thing that could put some downward pressure on wages, not such a great thing, minimum wage can remedy that. So I think the tax system and a minimum wage system can work well together to increase living standards for those at the bottom.
Certainly a lot of food for thought here, especially when at the end of this pandemic, we cannot have those disparities in inequality that we've had around the globe. I think even the leading CEOs will admit that it is better that we come out of this pandemic with, again, living wages for people on the planet. Professor Dube, we'll have you back again. Appreciate the discussion.